Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we are going to start off this Pack 1 Pick 1 in this Pioneer Masters Premier Draft with one of the best rares in the format, P and Kira Nalar, 4 mana for a 2/2 and 2/1/1s with flying that you can also sacrifice to deal 2 to any target later. Just an incredible card. Even if they have a removal for P and Kieran, you get left behind with these 2/1/1 flyers that play really well, get a bunch of damage in throughout the game, just an incredible 2-for-1 bomb, and the easy Pack 1 Pick 1 here. Now trying to play basically any red deck under the sun. For pick 2, we've got no super clear follow-up. We could go for like blue-red flyers here with Gust of Wind, because the Thopter tokens do make the Gust of Wind cheaper, so just 1 and a blue to bounce something and draw a card. That's incredibly efficient at that cost, and kind of mediocre at 4 mana, but if you are a deck with any flyers, Gust of Wind is incredible. It's also Hero Viroas, pretty high pick for the Boros heroic decks, one of the better, maybe the best aggressive archetype in the set. So trying to lean towards that with RP and Kieran could be good because the best red decks are the aggressive ones in the formats. And outside of that, there's not too much. None of these uncommons really push us in their direction, nor does the rare. Although we could take like Crawl Harpooner, try to do some Gruul nonsense, but I think I'd rather be pushing towards Boros as the best aggro deck in the set if we can get in there uncontested. And here's where Follow the Hammer plays pretty well. You get a heroic trigger targeting one of your cards and also get that damage to blow up a blocker on your opponent's board. So I do like that if we're leaning towards Boros, which looks to be the case for now. Yeah, no insanely powerful other direction to go. So we'll take the Fall of the Hammer. There's the Witch's Mark, the Martial Glory, the Ardenvale Tactician. All of these are spectacular options for Boros. I'm going to roll towards the Witch's Mark here to stay really deep into red. So we still have the idea or the backup plan to pivot off of white into some other just red aggro deck here, maybe Rakdos with Dreadbore. But Witch's Mark is spectacular. It's going to discard a card, draw 2, and buff your board to get extra damage in, particularly good in the heroic decks because it is also giving you a heroic trigger. So we'll take the Witch's Mark. Pick 5, gear per gear crafter here, but the Warhound is also quite solid. Looks like red is nice and open for us. The gear crafter particularly exciting for this deck considering we have PN Kira and Nalar, so we do have another way to sacrifice that Thopter for more damage if we get the PN Kieran. Here's Sajiri Shelter, which plays super well with heroic cards. Dragon Mantle does too. But I like the Shelter's flexibility of being a land when we need it. There's also Guildgate for fixing, or Mentor the Meek for card draw. There's a lot going on here. Maybe I actually do just stick really deep to red here. We could even, if we cut red enough and it's open enough, just be completely mono red, like mono red heroic and artifacts and stuff. Could be pretty fun. Pick 7, still an Ardenvale Tactician here. Pick 7, solid sign for Boros Heroic. It's going to be a flying threat to get a bunch of damage in later, evasively, but you can also Dizzying Swoop your own creatures to get the +1/+1 counters on your heroic stuff. Definitely love the Tactician, as I do the Scytheclaw Raptor. 3 mana, 4/3, already an excellent stat line for aggro, and it's shooting your opponent in the face every time they're casting something during your turn. Shoots you in the face if you cast things during your opponent's turn as well, but you're probably doing that less often in the Boros aggro deck. Some Boundary Lands Rangers play really well with the Scytheclaw Raptor. They're certainly worse than Hero Viroas for a heroic deck, but they are still solid 2-drops compared to most of the commons. Pick 11, probably another Boundary Lands Ranger. Yeah, I do have 3/3 drops that I all like better than the Scab Clan Berserker. I was going to say maybe we need to hit like critical mass with 3 drops, in which case I'd take it, but we really don't. And Martial Glory came all the way back around. What a deck. There's the Warhound. 2 mana 2/2 that has to attack each combat available is not the greatest, but the fact that you can also play this as a heroic card, as an aura just to trigger heroic on somebody else is really nice. All right, pack 2, pick 1. Ah, the green black god. This is a draft during the Theros devotion bonus sheet. I mean, it's not technically a Theros bonus sheet, but it's a devotion bonus sheet. So there's all the Theros gods in it. So there's some cool stuff going on there. If we get like a Perforos or an Iroas, we could play those, but sadly not Farrakha. So we'll take the 10th District Legionnaire. Incredible, incredible 2-drop. It's so good, I think I take it over Witch's Mark, even though Boros might be open because we got the Martial Glory late. It's not really worth the risk when this card is just like the absolute business in this strategy. We can probably get Witch's Marks a little bit later. There's a Martial Glory we can probably wheel, so we can take the Scytheclaw Raptor. Spirit of the Labyrinth is also fine, but the Raptor's just so big for only 3 mana. Here's the Gear Crafter again. Wheel a bunch of Martial Glories. Let's go. This is just a free draft pod here. Free Boros deck. Gonna be quite the simple draft today. Take the Guildgate over Messenger Emissary. Wild Slash, super high pickup. A Crone Crusader also solid, but that Wild Slash, that cheap 2 damage removal, much harder to come by. Ash Zealot, 2 mana 2/2 first strike haste. Maybe this was a reason to not take Legionnaire, take the Witch's Mark over it, because maybe we can go mono red with like Ash Zealot nonsense. Be pretty cute. Although there's all these Martial Glories I really want to play. Play Bloodfire Enforcers if we're mono red. Really not a fan of the 2 toughness on the 4 mana card. If it gets the first strike and trample, that's less of a drawback, because then it can't be like blocked by a 2/2, but it still gets blown up by a 1 mana Wild Slash, or like any other targeted removal really easily. So I'm still not very high on it. Another Gear Crafter over the Eidolon. Coom Warrior over nothing. Yeah, I'm not playing Apparition over any of these 2 drops. You know, I can hold down the Alt key. I'm not going to play a Coom Warrior and just rare draft something for the collection. Another Martial Glory. I don't know how many's too many, but I don't think I want that many Boulder Salvos, do I? I guess if we end up mono red, we might. We'll wheel the other Martial Glory. Yeah, I don't see myself playing like 4 Martial Glories. So, just to keep that mono red dream a possibility. If we open like Perforos exactly, can do that. I'm not going to play Perforos' Emissary in there though. Maybe. Boros still definitely looks stronger for now. If we get like a bunch of Wild Slashes, a couple more just really good red creatures like Rimrock Knights and stuff, we could go for it. All right. 0 good mono red cards. There's a Phalanx Tactics, but I've got triple Martial Glory, and those are just going to be better in this deck because they actually target 2 creatures. This buffs your whole board, but it still only targets one of them. You would just rather play the Martial Glories. So we'll take a Guild Gates. Dragonstyle Twins is probably just too expensive for this kind of deck. And then I guess Ash Zealot probably doesn't get played if we're Boros. We've got 2 Guild Gates, so this is 26 non-lands. Cut 2 of them and it's 24. Yeah, this is the deck, and these are the cuts if we go pure Boros. Rebel Belt Raiders does work in mono red. Just like 1 really big creature. That's cute. Swift Reckoning only killing tapped creatures makes it pretty mediocre in Boros. Take a Rebel Belt Raiders speculating on mono red. But I'll only play it if I'm mono red. Pack 3, pick 3. This pack is so good. I want Scytheclaw Raptor and Wild Slash and Zergo. I might be able to get 2 of them. I'm not going to get more than that. I feel like Wild Slash is still the spot I'm missing the most, just like cheap non-creature spells. So I'll probably take Wild Slash and wheel Scytheclaw Raptor. Probably, we'll see. Ooh, Fanatic of Mogis? When it enters, deal damage to each opponent equal to your devotion to red? That's the mono red dream card that makes you want to do all 1 color for massive devotion. Works really well with the Ash Zealot. Our mana base will be incredibly consistent. Crusader's good too, but I mean, and Scytheclaw Raptor. Jeez Louise. Legion Loyalist, beautiful. Attack with 3 or more creatures, and it's insanely hard to block. Oh my god, this draft pod. Hero, 10th District Legionnaire, Martial Glory, the Winged Steed Rider as well. Pick 7, another Boulder Salvo or Slide Runner. We're at 15 creatures. Go Slide Runner here for the 16th. So this deck would probably be, if I'm being completely honest, a little bit stronger if we went for the full just Boros Heroic. But the Devotion bonus sheet just came out. And like monocolored decks, this is like their time to shine and their time to try them out. With cards like Fanatic and Mogis. Wow, we got Zergo back. Let's go. So we just play this in 15 mountains and smash face? Oh my god. We are doing the thing here. I am into this. I will start cutting a card for everything I draft at this point. Don't want to go below 15 lands here, but we can certainly go lower than the standard. Being super aggressive and only having 1 color of mana we need to find. Got the Akroan Crusader. We've only got Dragon Mantle, Fall of the Hammer, and Witch's Mark for that, so it's definitely way weaker than it would have been in Boros. It still might be better than whatever the weakest card in here is. We didn't get any Rimrock Knights, surprisingly. If we had a few Rimrock Knights, the Crusader would definitely make the cut. But I guess with just like the 3 ways to target it, it is actually probably the weakest card in here right now. We've got the Warhound. So the Warhound, the Witch's Mark, the Fall of the Hammer, and the Dragon Mantle can target it. And that's it. Like 4 cards. One of which we wouldn't want to use Crusader with Fall of the Hammer, because you could only kill a 1/1 with that. Or a 1 toughness card with that. Yeah, I guess Crusader's just the cut. Unless I go 14 mountains, which I don't think I want to do. Alright. This is the dream. Mono red aggro beats. This is going to be a really, really simple draft. Really simple gameplay here. Let's just get into the games and let's smash some face. Alright, here we are on the draw for game 1. This is a little high on lands here, which could be awkward. But I'm just going to keep it. And start bashing some face. With Zergo Bell Striker. Already 3 color from our opponent. There's Pia and Kieran. It's insane. Alright, 2 damage right off the bat. Let's go. Our opponent surveils 1, and we'll see what they draw. Well, we don't get to see what they draw, but we get to see what they surveil. Mill and Undead Butler to draw a card. So the classic, Mono Red Aggro versus a very controlling deck over here looks like Soul Tie, blue, black, and green, so some self-mill value nonsense over there. Unfortunately, did not draw any 2 or 3 mana creatures. We do have a lot in the deck, which is what made me feel pretty safe to keep, but did not find any, and now they have all the open mana for counters, so we'll go for Rebel Belt Raiders over P and Kieran. Alright, sick. Draw the counterspell for our weaker play. Now they drop a Pilgrim's Eye. They do still have 2 up for if they have double Essence Scatter in hand. That would be awkward for us. But if I don't have any other creatures to run out, I'll still have to just do that. Okay, they don't. They just play Harpooner. Sure. Slash that Harpooner. I guess the Harpooner already couldn't have blocked Bell Striker, but we're just slashing it here anyway. And there's Pia and Kieran. Slumgar Butcher. That's pretty good with Pilgrim's Eye. Get rid of P and Kieran, but we can just get rid of the Butcher, slam 4, put them to 8. It's a Dragon Mantle for us as well. Dragon Mantle on a flyer is pretty legit. Finds a Slide Runner. Probably do play that here. Highest potential power to put on the board this turn. Abhorrent Overlord. If I remember right, this was an insane bomb in Theros. Beginning of their upkeep, they have to sack a creature. They get a flyer for each. Yeah, that is pretty bad for me. They could double block Zurgo with both of the 1/1s, and then they have to sack Overlord to itself if they don't have a flash creature. So Zurgo is still a good creature. Oh no, Zurgo can't block creatures with power 2 or greater. It's not can't be blocked, never mind. I'm pretty glad I read that. We'll just play Dragon-style Twins and pass. Reading the card does explain the card. Warhound. Sure. I'm not going to discard a Boulder Salvo to draw a card, so I'm not going to Ranger pre-combat. Chump. Is Overlord going to have to sack itself here? The only board wipe I can think of in this format is Gates Ablaze for red and 2, so I'm just going to keep running stuff out. Alright, Notion Thief to sack to the Overlord. Conclave Naturalist blows up the enchantment on the Dragon-style Twins, but I can salvo the Naturalists. They block Twins. Take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Take exact lethal if they don't have the instant speed removal. Even if they do, I'm still going to have some amount of creatures here and whatever I draw for the future. GG from opponent. Mono Red Devotion gets there for game 1. We are 1-0 heading into game number 2. Alright, here we are on the draw for game 2. I will keep the 2-lander on the draw. Obviously hoping it lands to get to these Gear Crafters, but we just need 1 land drawn, and we will have a lot of castable stuff. Could even maybe Wild Slash plus Boulder Salvo in the same turn, and there we go. It's the land we needed. It's so much easier when you're just praying for any of the 13 lands in your deck instead of like one of a specific color. Just part of the perks of being monocolored. Sky Rider Alpha 3/3. That's not fair. Okay, cool. My 2-drop trades into the 3-drop, and we're fine. It's actually pretty fair. The game is only fair if it's favorable for me. That's how it works. Can double spell these two if I need, but we're probably just running out of Gear Crafters any turn that we miss land drops. Yeah, any trade for Eidolon is fine. A 1/1 Death Touch for a 2/1. Cool. So we can just run out the Raiders here instead of slashing that. They cannot kill the Raiders. That's already just a massive attack. This thing attacks us a 6/6 here. Thing is super good with Gear Crafters. With our triple Gear Crafter deck. Cool. Now I would like to get rid of their mana, so we're not playing Fanatic yet. They're down to 9. Gate Colossus. Certainly an issue. Got the flyers, though. Got the boulder salvo after they block with Raptor, and they're at like 5 life. Worst case scenario, they put this on top of their deck by playing a land. Fell Stinger. Draw 2 and pray for the best? No. Keep it as a 3-2 blocker. Ultimate price the Gear Crafter. And we put them to 0 with Fanatic of Mogis, chipping in for 1. The saddest Fanatic, but even the saddest Fanatic can kill an opponent at 1 life. We are 2-0 heading to Game 3. On the draw again for Game 3. We have Boundary Lands Ranger into Scytheclaw Raptor if I need to start filtering lands away immediately. So if I draw exclusively lands, I guess that could be interesting, but that is not a land. So we're just going to start with Slide Runners and get damage in. Oh, this format has such unique variety. Our third, like, 4-color Goop Gates control deck. Or 3+ color Goop Gates control deck. I'm one to talk. I'm playing the best aggro color. But it's usually going for Boros instead of just mono red. But I don't know. We're like far enough in the format now. I am starting to get a little bored of it. I enjoy this deck a lot, but I mean any event, any draft where you play against like a very similar deck like 3 times in a row, it's going to be a little boring. Solid for our opponent. I've got a lot of lands here, so I'm going to Ranger pre-combat to ditch one. Zergo. Nice. Clear the Elf out of the way. Naturalists. We have got to find our boulder salvos, ideally here. And that is not one of them. Big yikes. Jace Vryn's Prodigy. How does that flip? 5 or more cards in grave. They are really close to that already. Okay. Okay, we do trade for the Naturalists and get that out of the way. You know what? I should have ditched Gear Crafter. I forgot Nyx Weaver has reach, so I was still under the mindset of getting flyers to try to chip in for damage, but Nyx Weaver has reach, so the flying tokens don't really matter that much. I feel like we're just about to get destroyed by Jace. As you do. Keep flashing back something from grave. Basically every other turn. Yep. Actually shuts off all our attacks by making the Scytheclaw Raptor a 2/3. Yeah, just keep shutting off attacks till they draw efficient removal spells to recast, and then start flashing those back. Finish off Jace or finish off their Nyx Weaver with this Wild Slash. God, even just as a massive fog, that's a bunch of value from our opponent, even if I kill it here. But if I don't, they're just going to Savage Punch again next turn off the Nyx Weaver. Yeah. Do not love that.
I'd pass undetected.
So I do enough damage to Jace so that they don't flashback next turn, plus they don't have the Nyx Weaver for the Savage Punch flashback. And then hopefully I clear out Jace this turn, and this is how I get rid of both of those threats. Get a much clearer path to actually get damage in the future.
I love learning.
If either one of these hits Jace, they don't flashback next turn, so we do that. Cool. If both hit them, then we're doing great. Here's the Rebel Belt Raiders with 1,000,000 creatures on board, threatening to be insanely massive. What is in our opponent's hand? Massive Fanatic pre-combat in case they have any removal? Wow, okay. I mean, we were in a really bad spot on board when they had a Jace and a Nyx Weaver, but then they had absolutely nothing from that point on. That was insanely unexpected. Literally nothing to cast 2 turns in a row after that. Just an immense amount of flood, I guess. Lucky, lucky game for us after seeing the really threatening start from our opponent, but I guess we will take it. We are 3-0 heading into game 4. All right, here we are on the play for the first time in a few games. We get the Zergo Bellstriker to lead us off, and then some Scytheclaw Raptors just being massive for super cheap. Let's start bashing. Hello. It's time to get smashy. Experiment 1. All right, well, everybody's getting smashy here. Sick 2-for-1. Clear out the Audacity without them drawing a card. They are on Gruul aggro over there. There's the Hornet Nest, which is actually quite good against our deck. I think Mono Red literally scoops the Hornet Nest. I mean, our only way to kill it is to do 2 damage to it. It's our best way to kill it. Man. So it's gonna 2-for-1 us no matter what, trading into 2 of our creatures or 2 of our removal spells. So here we're setting up to where it trades into a removal spell this turn and then trades into one of our creatures next turn. But yeah, Mono Red is like... Mono Red and Gruul are the decks that just can't deal with a Hornet Nest without spitting out all the Hornets. And if it spits out all the Hornets, then it's doing an incredible job. Ugh, the Fall of the Hammer with the Death Toucher too. This is really not where we want to be. Already almost out of cards here. Alright, we gotta hope those last 3 cards in their hand are quite bad, but the fact that they just played another Colony Territory tapped means they're probably all spells. Otherwise they would have just played a basic. Saved the Colony Ambush for later. Yep, there's the Gnarlback Rhino. Ian Kieran's real great off the top. Get them to 8 here. The fact that they didn't trade with the Gnarlback Rhino means they probably have more like Colony Ambush style cards, so they can kill one of our creatures and draw a card here with that Gnarlback Rhino. The nice from opponent. We do have 4 damage to their face with our artifacts if we hit land 6. I mean 6 damage because we poke them for 2 and then sacrifice both of them for 2 damage apiece. Okay, there's the Witch's Mark. Draw 1, discard 1, draw 2 more. Thanks to Gnarlback Rhino's ability. Land for turn. Boon Satyr. So we're probably just getting there in the sky then, right? Put them to 2 life that way. I don't have lethal on board because they can block Pia and Kieran and the Scytheclaw Raptor take 4. But then I can't sack these 2 to deal the next 2, right? I can't hit them with these for 1 and then also sack them and deal 2 with them while attacking with Pia and Kieran in the same turn, because then they kill Pia and Kieran at the same time these do combat damage, so I can't maximize the output and actually get lethal that way. So it's not worth the attack at all, because the attack all isn't actually lethal. It's just eat this, trade here. Or sorry, eat this, trade here. Take 4, and then I don't shoot them in the face. Oh shoot, I should have thought about if it would be lethal to shoot Boon Satyr. So sack 1 to shoot Boon Satyr. Gnarlback blocks the Raptor. I deal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That also wouldn't be lethal. So it wouldn't quite be lethal either way. So it feels safer to try to do this, so that maybe I just get a 2-turn kill in the sky. Hit them to 6, then hit them to 4, then turn that 4 into 0 by sacking both of these. And if they have any removal for P and Kieran, I can respond by sacking these to shoot them in the face. Or I can just keep them around. Another Witch's Mark, that is pretty good. I make the Satyr smaller and stop them from drawing 2 if I sack a Thopter to shoot that. But if I sack a Thopter to shoot that, I'm much less likely to lethal them next turn. I'm gonna let it resolve. I feel like that's bait. I feel like that was very intentional to target that instead of Gnarlback Rhino, and they're trying to get one of my flyers killed by casting the Witch's Mark in that way. Like, they can't make the Gnarlback Rhino any bigger with the Wicked Roll, but they still could draw a whole extra card by targeting the Rhino instead. But yeah, a creature can't have multiple rolls attached to it, is why. Okay, now the outs to hit lethal are pretty dramatic. The GG from opponent? Is it actually GG, though? Safer to cast Fanatic or sack these? I think it's safer to just try to kill them by casting Fanatic than it is to sack these. Okay, it is actually GG. I didn't want to send the GG back out there because it's like, you never know. Some people like to use the GG to try to hide that they actually have a play and just get you to go for the onboard lethal and mess it up. They could add some weird instant speed life gain spells. It's like I sack these and then, oh, now I don't have flyers anymore, but they're still at like 3 life or something. It's like, oh, shoot. So you never know. But we are 3-0 now. Just a really, really great sequence of games. 4-0 now. Such a good sequence of games that I forgot as we head into game number 5. Super sweet start for game 5. We're on the draw again, so not the most aggressive start ever possible. But the curve out's the most aggressive start ever possible, so I'll take it. Black-white deck from our opponent. They immediately have the Silk Wrap for the Zergo. Since they're on the play, they get to clear it out before we even damage them with it, so that's a little tragic. Definitely punished a little bit by the coin flip there, or the die roll. Imperious Oligarch, that's pretty annoying. Loading up a Warhound onto a Slide Runner honestly does not feel horrible. 3 toughness minimum on this slide runner. Just getting it past the oligarch is kind of big. And even if they blow up the slide runner, we keep the 2/2 body around. Wow, I was gonna say I would really be fine with that. We'd still hit them for 4 and get rid of the oligarch. Sure. Reckoning the slide runner, keep the 2/2 warhound. This is Esper control here. Don't really want to follow the hammer against open mana here. Feels awkward. So we'll just warhound trade into the oligarch. Get them down to the 1/1 body. And here's the 4/3. There's the stasis snare. Gearcrafter. Gets the Legion Loyalist active next turn. What a hand. Thought our hand was good. Kind of need to leave the Fanatic for the Fall of the Hammer to get the Horror out of here. Alright. It's a pretty pivotal turn. We needed the land. But probably the strongest, one of the strongest non-land cards we could have drawn. Jesus Christ. But it is all gas, no brakes from our opponent. The premiumest of premium draws. At this point, I don't have time to Fall the Hammer the Horror. I'm just going to have to attack into it with a Fanatic. The first strike gets us through. First strike gets us through the Dinrova Horror. Steward draws pretty huge here. I'm gonna have to blow up the Steward with a Thopter to stop them from getting all the tokens. Oh, good lord. I feel like I need Fanatic block up here. But I do have... I have blocked in Rova Horror with Pia and Gearcrafter. And shoot Steward down and kill a 1/1 flyer in the same turn. Yeah, I guess there's that. And then we just have to win the top deck war. Top deck war favored for our opponent. But a top deck war nonetheless. We could draw better than them. It is possible. Yeah, their board's going to be a single 1/1. Mine's going to be a single 4/2. It just never stops. Alright, well, they got me then. They're going to draw some token producer to go with this Mentor of the Meek immediately. Watch. Ooh, no they're not. Okay, I guess it's not technically completely over if they finally miss. We only missed like one time though. Oh my god. It's a flyer again, too. And it would have triggered the Mentor of the Meek. No, I die if I cast this Scytheclaw Raptor. So we don't cast it. Technically, barely don't die. And we pass and hope they just all-out swing here, and opponent has the Midas touch. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. We still could have won that game after all that if they just finally hit a land. If they hit a land on the draw here, then by passing with Wild Slash up, they see that they deal lethal on board, and they know that Arena's stopping for Dragon Mantle, so this doesn't necessarily mean I have a spell here. If they just click all attack and try to lethal me out there, I Wild Slash this, so I take 2, go to 1. They have no blockers up. I crack back for 8 damage if I top deck a mountain. So that's my out, is that I just 8 damage them. But our opponent was just incapable of drawing dead. They drew the exact curve out to 6 mana to hit the Dinrova Horror at the top of the curve, and then just never hit anything but gas from there. It's our first loss, pretty rough loss, but still the fact that even through all that, they were like just 1 land draw away from potentially just losing the game means I think that's just a great sign for the deck that it's going to take draws that great to potentially beat it. So we are 4-1 now, heading into game 6. All right, here we are for game 6. Sadly on the draw again. There's been a lot of that to go around this draft, but most of the time we can still win on the draw. And we'll see if we can keep that up here. I'm just going to blow up the Crusader before they can give it any heroic tricks to get any 1/1 bodies. Get a super wide board at all. They are Boros heroic, so mono red versus Boros. We'll see which is superior here. Double Gearcrafter to go with the Rebel Belt Raiders is going to be pretty spicy. Scab, Clan, Berserker. That's a snap trade. There's the Fanatic to go with the Rebel Belt Raiders. Some spice there for sure. Here's the Gearcrafter, pretty great against the Berserker. They are going to have to use one of their heroic combat tricks here. So we're going to trade Gearcrafter into a combat trick, hopefully. That is super bad for me. They get 3 counters onto this card. They get to also deal 3 to any target, so we really need them to not get 3 counters on this, but they probably have a combat trick as well. So do I want to trade Gearcrafter and a 1/1 into a combat trick? It's basically just the Gearcrafter, because it's the Gearcrafter and the creature it created. Yeah, that keeps them from casting any other creatures this turn. I don't know, maybe we're just racing, though. But this thing renowns, goes to 4/4, and starts shooting us for 2 whenever we cast a non-creature. I have all creatures in hand, though. So we just go to 16, crack back for 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe? I'm gonna not block. I mean, they definitely have a combat trick here, so it's really just get them to play a combat trick instead of maybe a creature, and keep them off the renown, or don't. Okay, Dragon Mantle now. Well, now I can just maybe chump Berserker every turn and outrace them that way. Boundary Lands, Ranger, no 4-power creature, and no land drop for Slide Runner. I think I'd rather keep your Crafter then. It's better chumps for Berserker. And that's the best way to deal with it, is chumps, because it's going to be really easy for them to combat trick it into being too big at this point. The Ordeal is going to pop off, but it's just going to kill a 2/1, so kind of whatever. Gearcrafter plays pretty well against the Ordeal because they're spitting out creatures when we play them. Goodbye, Slide Runner. I could take this damage at 17, unless their hand is entirely combat tricks. Yeah, go to 8. 8 is still a lot. Go to 9. No double buff. So that they can play the Rimrock Knight, which cannot block. Ash Zealot plus Spell Striker here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Die to a removal spell if I send everybody. Can't block creatures with power 2 or greater. So Zurgo can't block at all here. Anyway. But it's still definitely Zealot and Zurgo. I guess we just hold the tokens back then. They have to kill both of them to win. If they don't, can quite likely, thanks to Fanatic, lethal next turn, sending everybody in. And these are both colorless as well, so they can't, like, Sajiri Shelter their way through. Although, like, if they had Sajiri Shelter, the protection from red would make the Dragon Mantle fall off. But I think they can do all the +1 +0s and then Sajiri Shelter. Alright, got there. Thanks to the Gear Crafters really playing super, super well there, giving us the chumps that we needed. Pretty lucky they did not have any trample, and that gets us to 5-1 now, in the money out of the draft no matter what. But this deck is insane, and I'm riding a little bit of a high here. I'm really hoping for that potential 7-win run. Here we are on the draw for game 7. Got the turn 2 Ash Zealot to just get spicy. Turn 2. There's the Courier's Briefcase to chump it if they want. More 5-color Gates Mush. Well, 3+ color Gates Mush. We don't know for sure how many colors, but Briefcase makes it pretty likely they have at least one source of every color to, at some point, crack a Briefcase for the card draw. Okay. Not exactly holding up a trick here, but I'm pretty sure I'm playing Gear Crafter, so I might as well pretend to hold up a trick and then just play the Gear Crafter post-combat. Cool. Eat the 1/1. Get a Gear Crafter. Land 4 from our opponent is an Izzet Guildgate, showing off the 4th color. Green, white, blue, and red. And there's the 5th color, Ubelsolar Gatekeepers, showing off the black mana and being insane right now. Clearing out a Zealot and being a roadblock for all of our other ground creatures. Still like Dragon Mantling Flyers, but I think I'm playing the Ranger for now. So it's Ranger and Witch's Mark the Flyer. The blue Gatekeepers, we are never getting in on the ground. So as soon as they blow up this Thopter, we're going to have to wait to draw something real powerful. But Boundary Lands Ranger is going to do some digging for us. There's a Fall of the Hammer. That's going to clear out one of these Gatekeepers eventually. It's a Zurgo. Scytheclaw Raptor is not bad. I think I'm just maximizing damage here. I don't think the 2/2 matters enough to not just deal an extra point while I have the mana. Sky Knight to detain our flyer for a turn. Gearcrafter lets me get another flyer on the board, but I don't get to draw a card off of Ranger this turn. I think that's fine. I Wild Slash the Sky Knight and Bell Striker. I could Fall of the Hammer the Sky Knight, so that I have the Wild Slash to shoot them in the face, potentially. Actually does feel like a thing. Okay, it's not horrible. Still get a 3/3 out of it. And I have my old flyer. They're not my old flyer, my new flyer. That is pretty miserable. Immediate top deck of Boulder Salvo was great, but I kind of forgot how that card works and definitely should have played Scytheclaw Raptor first. For the Surge, got a little overexcited. Stop! Don't do this to us. Don't you dare just top deck greatness every turn, like our first loss. We are really digging at this point. Ooh. This rapid hybridization is pretty bad. So if I can get a wide enough board, I still have just as many creatures as I had before. They're just 3/3s instead of 4/3s or flyers. That's a draw. I mean, they've got no cards in hand here. Can slash the Nibelus and a 2/4 if I let some of my creatures die, which is probably worth it. Cool. All right. This is a winning board state. They block a 4/3, take over 9. Take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They go to 1. Oh, Fanatic off the top. Now I am the one who top decks every turn. Boom, boom. Revenge from our first loss game. And we are now 6-1. Heading into the final boss here with 2 shots at it with this incredible mono red deck. Feels like an excellent, excellent spot to be, but you never know what's going to happen. Let's just hop into that final game of Magic. See what way it goes. Ooh, we're on the play again. Slide Runner with a Warhound to slap onto it. That's some beef. We just need to hit a land to cast pretty much the whole hand. Everything but the Fanatic. Boros matchup here. But we are on the play. And I'm just going to say mono red is superior. Because I'm rude. Yeah, let's just start piling in. Boom! 15 life. Gotta love the big, loud damage sound. Oh, they're Naya. They've got 3 colors, red, green, and white. Clear shot. No. Well, I keep my 2-2. 2 crackback. Still be winning the race since we're on the play. That's the Fanatic mana. Raptor's the most power I can put on the board, but Gearcrafter plays the best against removal, as well as if they don't hit a land drop, really holds off the Slide Runner. Oof! Land plus Witch's Mark, they are going for it. Please attack. I believe I can outrace. The Fanatic of Mogis should really ruin their math here for racing each other. Another Slide Runner. I would be surprised if they don't block, but we'll have to see. Yeah, I'm not going to discard anything for Boundary Lands Ranger here, so we will just give them no information. They don't block. Alright. Let's see how we die here, because if we don't, they are definitely out of the game. Gonna be some insane tricks. Dragon Mantle in the 3-color deck is only going to give like +1. That's just not going to do it. Currently getting trampled, taking 6. They need to deal 6 additional damage to kill me here. For double green and white, they have to deal 6 additional damage. Do this while I have the maximum devotion. Send in the team. Alright, 7-1. It is another trophy run in the Pioneer Masters Premier Drafts. My first trophy run of the Devotion bonus sheet era, and we got to play with a really sweet card from that Devotion bonus sheet. Actually, a couple of them, the Fanatic of Mogis and the Rubble Belt Raider. I don't think the Rubble Belt Raider is actually that insane, again, because it's got no trample, no evasiveness or anything. It doesn't get the counters until it attacks as well. But, you know, in the right deck, in the right position, it can still be pretty solid, and I think it was solid in here. Obviously, the triple Gear Crafter to potentially curve into it is a really nice synergy for the card. So the Raiders and the Fanatic and the Ash Zealot, we actually got to play with a lot of spicy stuff from the Devotion bonus sheet, a lot of new stuff to the format, and it all played real nice in this deck. But especially that Fanatic, just getting the extra damage to make those kills much more secured was really, really nice. Yeah, I mean, red is an excellent aggressive color in the deck. We started the draft with the best card, the best red card in the format, and just kept going from there. And it went super, super well for us, so I'm pretty happy with that. The big thing today that is the question is, would Boros have been just a genuinely stronger deck? And the answer is probably, or just committing to mono red earlier. Like, either way would have ended as a stronger deck. Like, fully committing to Boros throughout the draft or fully committing to mono red earlier. There were some picks where I passed some Scytheclaw Raptors. I think one of those might have been for a white spell, you know, like a Legionnaire over a Scytheclaw Raptor or something like that, you know, and then like a triple Legionnaire mono red deck, or sorry, a triple Raptor mono red deck would have been better than what we ended up with. And then obviously, you know, just going the full Boros from the start probably would have been a little stronger as well. But I'm really happy with this deck. I don't think it's significantly weaker than the potential best deck in the pod. This was just a gross draft. It was a really, really simple one, really powerful one. Sometimes the stars just align. You start going really deep into one color for your rare, and that color just happens to be the most open color in the pod, and you get an insane deck for it for the 7-win trophy run. But that's going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.